My name is Melissa Kistner, and this is how I became Orthodox. I grew up just kind of flitting around different Protestant denominations. I was baptized Catholic, but that's about all we went with that. When I was really little, I was Baptist. Basically grew up in the Methodist church, and then I married my husband, and he was Baptist. And then when we went to Okinawa, because he's military, we went to an Anglican church. And when we came back to Virginia, we spent the last 8 years in a non-denominational church. And that was fine for a long time, but then my son started going to a Catholic school, and I would go to mass and like learn some of the stuff he was learning, and I was wondering like what happened to the first 1500 years of Christianity. Where do they get their authority from with the interpretation of the Bible? Um, because like I said, this church believed that, this church believed this, and who is telling us that? Where did the authority come from? Why do we do things so differently? Why do some denominations baptize infants? Others do the believer's baptism. Why is communion open in some places and not in others? And it just had me thinking, like, what is the truth? So I started like looking at different Protestant denominations, and everything I went to that was more of a liturgical basis, it seemed like it was like hardly anybody was there. It was a dying out church. There was no kids. So I was like, I don't know where to go from here. So I did some research, and I got to being, okay, there's the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. And I knew absolutely nothing about the Orthodox Church. I just thought it was for Greeks or Russians, and I didn't think I'd find a place here. So I said, well, I'm gonna go visit the Greek festival going on and see what that's about. And we had a tour of the church, and it was just so beautiful. He explained all the symbolism, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I need to be. But I'm not Greek, what do I do? So he said, oh, there's a church, St. Basil's in Hampton, and they do it all English services. And I was like, okay, this is where I need to be because I live in Hampton. I'm, English speaking. So I gave it a shot. And when I first came, I was like, everyone was so welcoming. So I walked through the door, and they led me to my seat, and I sat with a lady that still has a church today. And, she showed me everything, what I was supposed to do. And they're like, come on, stay for coffee hour, and I got a lot of questions answered, and it was just very welcoming. I've never been in a church that was that welcoming before. But I wasn't like overly like, oh wow, this liturgy, yeah, it's nice, but when's the singing gonna stop? So if you're like come to an Orthodox church and you're like, oh, you're not super drawn in right away, give it some time, because over time I love it, and if I go to another church, I really miss it, because I know what all the symbolism is, and I know that we're actually worshiping with the Lord and all the host of heaven. And I know, like the Orthodox Church is we pass down everything, so it is not just okay, what's strictly in the Bible, is what is passed down from Jesus through the apostles into today. So it is a living church. And I really like that about Orthodoxy.